I just did a meditation on the study of the book of Jonah and just wanted to share some pearls of wisdom for my future self. And so I gleaned a bunch of things this time around in the study that I never conceptualized before too much. So I wanted to focus on those things. For example, choosing to make good choices versus bad choices. So the story of Jonah, the background is that basically he's in this town, right? And this town is making really bad choices, and as a consequence of their choices, they're lying, they're stealing, there's even killing and a lot of bad choices. And here comes this character Jonah, and somehow God chooses to use him to bring a message to this town. And ultimately, initially, Jonah decides to go in the completely opposite direction instead of going directly to the town and say, hey, stop from what you're doing, because the consequences of what you're doing is hurting yourself but others as well. And somehow in the whole wrap of everything, Jonah is perceived as being haunted by a past that was somehow others caused pain to Jonah based on the consequences of their actions. And so Jonah's initial reaction is, I'm just gonna isolate myself in a bubble away from all the evildoers, away from all those that are doing stealing and lying and thieving, dishonesty, and the whole list of crimes, right? So anyway, so he runs from the town, runs from the voice of what God's wanting him to do, and he goes on this ship, and eventually gets thrown into the ocean, and then finally in the belly of the great fish, he prays, he meditates, and he decides to just trust God and just listen to what is asked of him in that particular situation, and so kind of like blind trust, right? So or a fatherly kind of trust, where you just trust that your father or your parent means good for you, right? And so he trusts, and he goes to this great city that's doing a lot of bad and bad choices, and he basically tells them the message that you start doing good choices, and so that way, because the consequences of your bad choices is just destructive, and so that you won't be destroyed, do good choices. And finally they listen, and they it says they do a fast, and whatever happens, that's between them and God. But I do want to focus on how Jonah grew as a character, because it starts off with him harboring bitterness in his heart because he was so hurt and so betrayed, and so he wanted nothing to do with any of that. So he was trying so hard to focus on being a good person and making good choices. And then ultimately, the evolution of him growing as a character, he gains healing and forgiveness within himself, and leading him to a whole level of wholeness, and he just learns, it just develops him and grows him, and it's just his relationship between him and God just grows to a deeper, more understanding and a level of compassion, of love that he might have not otherwise tapped into had he taken a different route, or had he been a part of that. So it was so inspirational to just focus in and see how listening to God, and even when we don't understand why or how all the pieces are gonna, or just listen to God and do good choices, be good, choose love, choose compassion, forgiveness, healing, and all things happy.